The stiletto heel drove straight into Sophia's hip with sickening force. Vanessa Blake didn't even flinch as she kicked again, her diamond engagement ring catching the light like a cruel joke while she screamed at the black maid, crouching over the trembling 78-year-old woman on the floor. "Get your filthy hands off her, you useless piece of trash!" But Sophia Carter didn't let go. She wrapped her arms tighter around Eleanor Thornton's fragile body, taking every blow, shielding the old woman who couldn't shield herself. And when the billionaire walked through that door, when Marcus Thornton saw his mother on the ground and his fiancée standing over them both, he believed the wrong woman. He fired the only person who had ever truly protected his mother. But what Vanessa Blake didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the truth had been watching the whole time. Before we continue this incredible story, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and follow this journey to the very end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see just how far this story travels. Now let's begin. The teacup shattered against the marble floor, and Eleanor Thornton's cry pierced through the afternoon stillness of the Charleston mansion. Sophia Carter had been folding linens in the adjacent room when she heard it. Not just the breaking of porcelain, but the breaking of something else entirely. A voice she recognized dripping with a venom she had only glimpsed in passing glances and tight smiles. She dropped the linens and ran. What she found stopped her cold in the doorway. Eleanor Thornton, the 78-year-old matriarch of one of Charleston's wealthiest families, was stumbling backward, her frail hands reaching for something to steady herself. And standing over her face, twisted with rage, was Vanessa Blake. "You think you can tell me what to do in my own house?" Vanessa's voice was ice wrapped in fire. "You're nothing but a burden to him, a sick, pathetic burden." "Vanessa, please." Eleanor's voice trembled. "I only said that perhaps the guest list for the wedding is none of your business." Vanessa grabbed Eleanor's wrist, her manicured nails digging into paper-thin skin. "You should be grateful I even let you stay here. Most women would have shipped you off to a nursing home by now." Eleanor whimpered, trying to pull away, but Vanessa's grip only tightened. "You're hurting me," Eleanor gasped. "Please, my wrist. Your wrist." Vanessa laughed, a sound devoid of humanity. "You want to talk about pain? Try living with a mother-in-law who undermines everything you do. Try smiling at charity events while this old bat whispers poison in everyone's ears. I never—" "Shut up!" Vanessa shook Eleanor's arm violently. "You think I don't hear what you say about me? You think Marcus doesn't come to bed distracted because you've been filling his head with doubts?" That was when Sophia moved. She didn't think. She didn't calculate the consequences. She simply crossed the room in 3 quick strides and placed herself between Vanessa and the woman she had grown to love like her own grandmother. "Let her go." Sophia's voice was steady, despite the fear hammering in her chest. "You're hurting her." Vanessa's eyes went wide, then narrow. The transformation was instantaneous, a mask of outrage sliding over her features like something practiced. "Excuse me." Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Did you just give me an order?" "Mrs. Thornton needs to sit down." Sophia kept her body positioned as a barrier, gently guiding Eleanor toward the nearest chair. "She's not well. Her heart— I know about her heart." Vanessa released Eleanor's wrist with a shove that sent the old woman stumbling. "I've heard about nothing but her heart for 6 months. Her heart, her medications, her special diet. As if I have nothing better to do than nursemaid an old woman who should have died years ago." Eleanor gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Sophia caught her before she could fall, lowering her gently onto the settee. She could feel the elderly woman's heart racing beneath her palm, could see the fear and hurt pooling in those faded blue eyes. "It's all right," Sophia whispered. "I've got you. Just breathe. Nice and slow." "How dare you touch her?" Vanessa's shriek bounced off the high ceilings. "Get your hands off her right now." Sophia didn't move. She kept her hand on Eleanor's back, feeling the rapid rise and fall of her breathing. "Mrs. Thornton, can you hear me? I need you to take slow breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth." "I said get away from her." Vanessa grabbed a silver tray from the sideboard and hurled it across the room. It crashed against the wall inches from Sophia's head, leaving a dent in the century-old plaster. Sophia didn't flinch. She had learned long ago that flinching only encouraged people like this. "You need to calm down," she said quietly, "before someone gets hurt." Vanessa laughed, then a sound that made Sophia's skin crawl. "Someone gets hurt? Oh, that's rich coming from you." She stepped closer, her designer heels clicking against the marble like a countdown. "You know what I think? I think you've gotten a little too comfortable here. I think you've forgotten your place." "My place is taking care of Mrs. Thornton." Sophia held her ground. "That's what I was hired to do." "You were hired to clean and cook and disappear when you're not needed." Vanessa's face was inches from Sophia's now, close enough that she could smell the expensive perfume mixed with something sharper, something like hatred. "You were not hired to have opinions. You were not hired to interfere in family matters, and you were certainly not hired to look at me like you're looking at me right now." "How am I looking at you?" The question was quiet, dangerous in its simplicity. Vanessa's hand moved so fast that Sophia barely saw it coming. The slap connected with her cheek, hard enough to turn her head hard enough to make her ears ring. Behind her, Eleanor cried out, "Like you're better than me!" Vanessa's voice shook with fury. "Like you have any right to judge me. You're nothing. You're less than nothing. You're the help." Sophia tasted blood where she had bitten her tongue. She straightened slowly, refusing to raise her hand to her stinging cheek, refusing to give this woman the satisfaction of seeing her pain. "Mrs. Thornton needs her medication," she said evenly. "I'm going to get it now." "You're not going anywhere." Vanessa blocked her path. "Not until we settle something." "There's nothing to settle. Mrs. Thornton is having chest pains. She needs her nitroglycerin." "She's faking." Vanessa glanced dismissively at Eleanor. "She always fakes when she wants attention. Marcus falls for it every time. But I see through her. I see through both of you." Eleanor's voice came weak but clear. "I'm not faking. Please, Sophia, my pills." "See?" Vanessa spun toward the old woman. "Right on cue. The poor, helpless grandmother routine. How long did it take you to perfect that act?" "It's not an act." Eleanor's voice cracked. "I have a heart condition. The doctor says whatever you pay him to say." Vanessa leaned down her face inches from Eleanor's. "You want to know what I think? I think you've been playing the victim card for so long you've forgotten what it's like to face consequences." "Consequences for what?" Eleanor whispered. "For trying to destroy my relationship with your son." Vanessa's voice dropped to a hiss. "For making him doubt me. For looking at me like I'm not good enough to breathe the same air as your precious family. I never said you weren't good enough." "You didn't have to say it." Vanessa straightened abruptly. "It's in every look, every sigh, every time you accidentally bring up his ex-girlfriend at dinner. You want him to leave me. You've wanted it from the beginning." Sophia stepped forward. "That's enough. Mrs. Thornton is clearly in distress. I'm calling a doctor." "You're not calling anyone." Vanessa grabbed Sophia's arm, spinning her around. "You're going to stand there and listen while I tell you exactly what's going to happen. Let go of me. You're going to pack your things and get out of this house. Tonight." Vanessa's nails dug into Sophia's forearm. "And if you say one word to Marcus about any of this, I will destroy you. Do you understand me? I will make sure you never work in this city again." Sophia met her eyes without wavering. "I'm not leaving Mrs. Thornton." Something dangerous flickered in Vanessa's gaze. "What did you just say to me?" "I said I'm not leaving. She needs care, real care, and right now you're the biggest threat to her health in this room." For a moment, the silence was absolute. Then Vanessa smiled. It was the coldest expression Sophia had ever seen on a human face. "Fine," she said softly. "Have it your way." She shoved Sophia hard, sending her stumbling backward over the coffee table. Sophia went down hard, her elbow cracking against the marble floor, pain shooting up her arm. But she was already scrambling to her feet when she saw Vanessa advancing on Eleanor. "No!" Sophia threw herself between them just as Vanessa's hand came down. The blow meant for Eleanor caught Sophia across the shoulder, sending her crashing into the older woman. They both went down Sophia, twisting at the last second to take the impact to cushion Eleanor's fall with her own body. Eleanor was crying now, soft, frightened sounds that broke Sophia's heart. She could feel the old woman trembling against her, could feel the rapid flutter of her heartbeat. "It's okay," Sophia breathed, wrapping her arms protectively around Eleanor's frail form. "I've got you. I've got you." "You think you can protect her?" Vanessa stood over them, breathing hard, a strand of perfectly styled hair falling across her face. "You think you can lay your filthy hands on his mother and get away with it?" She drew back her foot and kicked. The stiletto heel drove into Sophia's hip, and she bit back a cry of pain, curling tighter around Eleanor, using her body as a shield. Another kick caught her ribs. Another struck her back, but she didn't let go. She didn't let go. "Please," Eleanor sobbed. "Please stop, please." "Shut up." Vanessa grabbed a handful of Sophia's hair and yanked her head back. "Look at you. Look at you trying to play the hero. Who do you think you are? Who do you think is going to believe you over me?" Sophia's voice came out strained but steady. "The truth doesn't need anyone to believe it. It just is." Vanessa's eyes blazed. "The truth. You want to talk about truth." She released Sophia's hair and stepped back, her chest heaving. "Here's the truth. I am going to marry Marcus Thornton. I am going to inherit everything this family has. And you're going to disappear, just like every other insignificant person who ever got in my way." "Sophia," Eleanor's voice was barely audible. "My chest. I can't." Sophia's attention snapped immediately to the old woman. Eleanor's face had gone gray, her lips tinged with blue, her hand clutching weakly at her chest. Mrs. Thornton, stay with me." Sophia pressed her fingers to Eleanor's wrist, feeling for her pulse. It was rapid and irregular. "I need to get her medication. Now. You're not going anywhere." Vanessa positioned herself between Sophia and the door. "She's having a cardiac episode." Sophia's voice rose for the first time. "If she doesn't get her medication, she could die. Is that what you want to explain to Marcus, how his mother died while you stood there and watched?" Something flickered in Vanessa's expression. Not guilt, Sophia realized. Fear. The fear of getting caught. "Fine," Vanessa stepped aside. "Get the pills. But if you say one word to anyone about what happened here..." Sophia didn't wait for her to finish. She was already running for the medicine cabinet in the adjacent bathroom, her hips screaming with every step. She found the nitroglycerin, ran back, knelt beside Eleanor. "Open your mouth, Mrs. Thornton. Under your tongue. That's it. Just let it dissolve." Eleanor's trembling hand found Sophia's and squeezed weakly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Sophia kept her voice calm even as her mind raced. "I need to call a doctor. Your heartbeat is irregular." "No doctors." Vanessa's voice cut through the moment. "She's fine. She's always fine. She just needs rest. She needs medical attention. She needs you to mind your own business." Vanessa crossed her arms. "The old woman has had 100 of these episodes. She'll take her pill, she'll rest, and tomorrow she'll be back to making my life miserable. It's what she does." Sophia stared at her, momentarily speechless at the callousness. "How can you talk about her like that? She's going to be your mother-in-law." "Unfortunately," Vanessa examined her nails, "but not for long. Once Marcus and I are married, I'll convince him to put her in a facility, somewhere she can get proper care." She made air quotes with her fingers. "Somewhere far away from here." Eleanor's hand tightened on Sophia's. "She can't," Eleanor breathed. "She can't send me away. Marcus would never. Marcus will do whatever I tell him to do." Vanessa's smile was cruel. "You still don't understand, do you? I don't need your approval. I don't need your blessing. I just need you out of the way." The sound of a car door slamming echoed from the driveway. All three women froze. "That's him!" Vanessa's expression transformed in an instant, the cruelty melting away, replaced by something soft and vulnerable. "That's Marcus." She turned to Sophia, and her voice dropped to a vicious whisper. "Not a word. Do you understand me? Not a single word." Sophia looked at Eleanor, at the tears streaming down the old woman's face, at the fear in her eyes. Then she looked at Vanessa, at the mask she was already preparing to wear, and Sophia made her decision. "I'm telling him everything." Vanessa's expression flickered. Excuse me. I said I'm telling him everything, what you did to his mother, what you said, every bruise, every threat, every word. For a moment, something like panic crossed Vanessa's face. Then it was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. You stupid, stupid girl. Her voice was barely a whisper. You think anyone will believe you, the black maid against the fiancé? Look around you. Look at where you are. You're nobody. You have nothing. And I have everything. I have the truth. The truth, Vanessa laughed. The truth is whatever I say it is. And right now the truth is that you attacked my future mother-in-law. The truth is that you lost your temper and shoved a 78-year-old woman to the ground. The truth is that I walked in and tried to stop you, and you assaulted me too. Sophia's blood ran cold. That's a lie. Is it? Vanessa tilted her head, her smile widening. Who do you think Marcus will believe, his beautiful, devoted fiancée, who has never given him a moment's doubt or the help? Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. Vanessa moved fast. She grabbed Eleanor's arm and yanked the old woman upright, positioning herself as though she had been helping her stand. Then she turned toward the door, her face already crumpling into an expression of distress. Marcus! She stumbled toward him as he appeared in the doorway, her voice breaking with perfectly calibrated terror. Thank God you're here. I tried to stop her, but she just snapped. She shoved your mother. I couldn't get her off. Marcus Thornton stood in the doorway, 6 feet 2 inches of tailored suit and barely contained power. His storm gray eyes swept the scene before him, taking in the shattered porcelain, the overturned furniture, his mother trembling on the settee, his fiancée in apparent distress, and the black maid standing in the middle of it all. What the hell is going on? That's not true. Sophia's voice came out hoarse, strained. I was trying to protect her. She was about to shut up. Vanessa whirled on her, the mask slipping just enough for something ugly to show through before she caught herself, and turned back to Marcus. Don't listen to her. She's been acting strange for weeks. I told you something wasn't right. I told you we should have let her go when Linda recommended it. Linda never recommended. I said shut up. Vanessa's voice rose to a shriek, then immediately softened as she looked at Marcus. You see how aggressive she is. She's completely unhinged. Marcus hadn't moved from the doorway. His face was unreadable, but his eyes, those cold gray eyes, were fixed on Sophia. Get away from my mother. The words hit her like physical blows. Sir, please. She could hear the desperation in her own voice and hated it. Please listen to me. I wasn't hurting her. I would never hurt her. Your fiancé... I said get away. The command cracked through the room like a whip. Behind her, Eleanor made a small sound of protest, her frail hand reaching toward Sophia. Marcus. Eleanor's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus, she didn't... Mom, it's okay. His voice softened marginally as he addressed his mother, though his eyes never left Sophia. I'm here now. You're safe. But I said it's okay. He finally moved into the room, crossing to where Vanessa stood. He put an arm around his fiancée's shoulders, and she melted into him, trembling with theatrical relief. She was so frightening. Vanessa's voice was muffled against his chest. The things she said to your mother, the way she grabbed her. I tried to intervene, but she's stronger than she looks. She hit me, Marcus. She actually hit me. Sophia's mouth fell open. That's a lie. The words came out flat, disbelieving. That's a complete lie. I never touched you. I have a bruise. Vanessa pulled back from Marcus just enough to gesture at her arm, clutching her elbow where no mark was visible. Right here. She grabbed me so hard. There's no bruise. Sophia stepped forward, and Marcus stepped back, as if her proximity was somehow contaminating. There's nothing there. She's lying to you. She's the one who... Enough. Marcus's voice echoed off the high ceilings. I don't want to hear another word from you. Sophia fell silent, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Marcus turned to his mother, kneeling beside the settee, where Eleanor sat with tears streaming silently down her cheeks. His voice gentled. Mom, are you hurt? Do you need a doctor? Eleanor's eyes flickered to Sophia, then back to her son. Her lips parted, trembled. For one desperate moment, Sophia thought she might tell him the truth. Marcus, Eleanor whispered. Sophia was... It's okay, Mom. Marcus squeezed her hand. You don't have to talk about it right now. You're in shock. No, I need to tell you. Shh. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her forehead. Rest now. We'll talk later. Eleanor's gaze found Sophia's across the room, and what Sophia saw there made her heart break. Guilt, fear, and something else. A silent apology. The old woman's mouth closed, and the truth stayed locked behind her lips. Marcus rose and turned to face Sophia, and the coldness in his eyes made her take an involuntary step backward. How long have you worked here? 8 months, sir. 8 months. He nodded slowly. And in 8 months, you've never given me any reason to doubt you. My mother trusted you. I trusted you. The past tense hit her like a blow. Sir, please. She hated the way her voice shook. If you would just let me explain. Explain what? His voice rose sharply. Explain why I walked in to find my elderly mother on the floor with you on top of her. Explain why my fiancé is crying and my mother can barely speak. What explanation could possibly make any of this acceptable? I was protecting her. The words burst out before she could stop them. Your fiancé attacked her. She hit her. She grabbed her. She kicked me when I tried to intervene. I was trying to keep her safe. Marcus stared at her for a long moment, and she saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt, perhaps, or maybe just disappointment. Then he looked at Vanessa, who was dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, the picture of wounded innocence. Vanessa, is any of that true? Of course not. Vanessa's voice cracked with outrage. How could you even ask me that I love your mother? I would never ever hurt her. This woman is lying to save herself. Can't you see what she's doing? Marcus's jaw tightened. He turned back to Sophia. You're fired. The words fell like stones into still water. Pack your things and leave. His voice was flat, empty of any emotion. I want you out of this house within the hour. Sir, please. Sophia's voice cracked. Please don't do this. Mrs. Thornton needs... Don't tell me what my mother needs. The ice in his voice could have frozen the Charleston harbor. You've done enough damage for one day. Vanessa moved to stand beside him, slipping her arm through his, a portrait of solidarity and wounded virtue. You should go, she said softly, and there was something in her eyes that made Sophia's blood run cold. Triumph, pure, undisguised triumph. Before this gets any worse. Sophia looked at Marcus, searching for any trace of the kind employer she had known for the past 8 months. The man who asked about her mother's health. The man who gave her extra time off when she needed it. The man who once said his mother's well-being was the most important thing in his life. He was gone. In his place stood a stranger, a man who had already made his judgment and found her wanting. She turned slowly to Eleanor, who sat on the settee with tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Mrs. Thornton. Her voice broke on the name. I'm so sorry. Eleanor's hand reached out, trembling, desperate. Sophia, don't go. Please, tell him. Tell him what really... Mom. Marcus's voice was sharp. That's enough. You're upset. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. Eleanor's voice rose with sudden strength. Marcus, listen to me. Sophia didn't hurt me. She protected me. Vanessa was the one who... Darling. Vanessa moved to Eleanor's side, her voice dripping with false concern. You're confused. It's the shock. You need to rest. I'm not confused. Eleanor tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't support her. Marcus, please. You have to believe me. Sophia saved my life. If she hadn't been there, none of this would have happened. Marcus's voice was final. Mom, I love you, but you're not thinking clearly right now. The doctor said stress can affect your memory, your judgment. We'll talk about this when you're feeling better. I feel fine, Marcus. Look at me. Look at my wrist. She held up her arm, and Sophia saw Marcus's gaze fall on the angry purple bruise circling his mother's wrist. She saw the flicker of confusion cross his face. She grabbed me, Eleanor said, pointing at Vanessa. She grabbed me and shook me and said terrible things. She said I should have died years ago. She said she was going to put me in a home, and That's enough. Vanessa's voice cut through Eleanor's words like a knife. This is exactly what I was afraid of. The stress has completely unhinged her. She's making up stories, Marcus. She's confused. I'm not confused. You're also tired and in pain and clearly not yourself. Vanessa turned to Marcus with tears in her eyes. Maybe we should call Dr. Patterson. Have him come check on her. Make sure she hasn't had a stroke or something. This kind of paranoid delusion can be a sign of... I am not having a stroke. Eleanor's voice broke. Marcus, please. I'm your mother. I've never lied to you in your life. Look at me. Look at my face. Am I lying now? Marcus hesitated. For one breathless moment, Sophia thought he might actually listen. She saw the doubt creep into his expression, saw him look at his mother, really look at her for the first time since he'd entered the room. Then Vanessa touched his arm. Darling, she said softly, I know this is hard. I know you want to believe her. She's your mother and you love her. But think about what you saw when you walked in. Think about the evidence. The broken china, the overturned furniture, Sophia, standing over your mother with her hands on her. What does the evidence tell you? Marcus's expression hardened. Mom, I love you, but I saw what I saw. Eleanor's face crumpled. No, she whispered. No, Marcus, please. You don't understand. You didn't see what happened before. You only saw the end, not the beginning. Vanessa was hurting me, and Sophia stopped her. She took the blows meant for me. She used her body as a shield. That's not what I saw. Because you weren't here. Eleanor's voice rose to a cry. You came in at the end. You only saw Sophia on the floor with me because she had just protected me from your fiancé. Vanessa made a small, wounded sound. I can't listen to this anymore. Marcus, she's calling me a liar. She's accusing me of assault. Do you have any idea how that makes me feel? I know, baby. I'm sorry. Marcus pulled Vanessa into his arms, and over his shoulder, Vanessa's eyes met Sophia's. She smiled. It was a small smile, a secret smile, the smile of someone who had won and knew it. And in that moment, something inside Sophia went cold and hard. She straightened her spine. She lifted her chin. She had learned long ago that the only dignity you kept was the dignity you refused to surrender. I was only trying to help, she said quietly. I would never hurt your mother. Never. And someday, Mr. Thornton, you'll know that. Someday you'll see the truth. I just hope it's not too late when you do. She turned and walked toward the door, her hips screaming with every step, her heart breaking with every breath. Behind her, she heard Vanessa's voice, soft and sweet and poisonous. Oh, thank God, she's gone. I was so frightened. Did you see the way she looked at me? There's something wrong with her, Marcus. Something really wrong. Sophia didn't stop. She didn't turn around. But as she reached the doorway, she heard a sound that would haunt her for weeks to come. Eleanor's voice, thin and desperate, calling after her. Sophia, wait. Please, please don't leave me. And Marcus's voice cutting her off. Mom, don't. She's dangerous. Let her go. Sophia walked through the marble foyer, past the crystal chandeliers and the priceless artwork, past the fresh flowers that she had arranged just that morning. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, each one a reminder of everything she was leaving behind. She climbed the servants' staircase to her small room on the 3rd floor, and she packed her few belongings into the same duffel bag she had arrived with 8 months ago. The silver hairpin Eleanor had given her sat on the nightstand. For luck, the old woman had said, pressing it into her palm with a smile that made Sophia's heart ache. She picked it up and turned it over in her fingers. Such a small thing, such a precious thing. She tucked it into her pocket and walked out of the Thornton mansion for what she believed would be the last time. Outside, the afternoon had turned gray clouds gathering on the horizon like a warning. Linda, the head housekeeper, was standing by the service entrance, her face pale. Sophia, her voice was barely above a whisper. I heard shouting. What happened? I've been fired. Linda's hand flew to her mouth. What? Why? Ask Miss Blake. Sophia's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. I'm sure she'll give you a very convincing story. But Mrs. Thornton will need someone to look after her. Sophia gripped her duffel bag tighter. Someone who won't be fired for doing their job. Take care of her, Linda. Please, she doesn't have anyone else." Linda's eyes filled with tears. "I don't understand. You would never hurt her. Everyone knows that. I'll talk to Mr. Thornton. I'll tell him it won't matter." Sophia touched Linda's arm gently. "But thank you for believing me." She walked to her car, an old Ford Escort that had seen better days, and threw her bag into the back seat. The first drops of rain began to fall as she pulled away from the mansion, watching it grow smaller in her rearview mirror. She didn't cry. She had learned long ago that crying didn't change anything. But as the rain intensified, drumming against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists, she made herself a promise. The truth would come out. Somehow, some way, the truth would come out. And when it did, Vanessa Blake would answer for every blow, every lie, every cruel word. Sophia didn't know how. She didn't know when. But she knew with a certainty that burned in her bones that this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The drive took her to the Whisper Pines Lodge, a modest roadside inn on the outskirts of Charleston. The neon sign buzzed in the rain, casting pink and blue reflections on the wet parking lot. The woman at the front desk had kind eyes and a smoker's rasp. "One night or more, honey." Just one. Sophia's voice sounded hollow, even to her own ears. "For now." $45, cash only, no smoking, no parties, and don't complain about the heater. Understood. The room smelled like old carpet and industrial cleaner. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed, her duffel at her feet, and pulled out the small notebook she had started after her mother's funeral. Her hands were shaking as she wrote, "I lost another job today. Not because of what I did, but because of what I am. I took the blows meant for an old woman who couldn't defend herself. I put my body between her and the monster who was supposed to love her son. And when her son walked in, he believed the monster. He believed her because she was beautiful, because she was wealthy, because she was white. He didn't even let me finish a sentence." She closed the notebook and pressed her palms against her eyes. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "You can't choose what the world calls you, Maya, but you can choose who you answer to." "I know, Mama," Sophia whispered into the empty room. "I know." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the silver hairpin. For luck, Eleanor had said. Right now, luck felt very far away. But as she sat there in the silence, something else stirred inside her. Something stronger than despair. Determination. She had done the right thing. She knew it in her bones. And no matter what happened next, that was something no one could take from her. Tomorrow she would figure out her next steps. Tomorrow she would look for work, reach out to her contacts, try to rebuild what had been destroyed in a matter of minutes. But tonight she would allow herself to feel the weight of the injustice. Just for tonight. Back at the Thornton mansion, the rain beat against the windows as night fell. Marcus stood in his study, a glass of whiskey untouched on his desk. His mother had been settled in her room with her medication and strict instructions to rest. Vanessa had retired to their bedroom with a headache and a bottle of wine, and he was left alone with the images he couldn't shake. Sophia on the floor, arms wrapped around his mother, the bruise on his mother's wrist, the fear in Sophia's eyes when she looked at him. The fear, not guilt, not defiance. Fear. He stopped pacing and stared out the window at the rain-soaked garden below. Something wasn't right. Something about the whole situation felt off, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Sophia had worked for his family for 8 months. In all that time, she had been nothing but professional. More than professional. She had been kind, attentive. His mother adored her. His mother. Marcus turned from the window and walked upstairs. The door to his mother's room was slightly ajar, soft light spilling into the hallway. He knocked gently. "Mom, are you awake? Come in." She looked small in the large bed, propped against a mountain of pillows, her silver hair spread across the white linen like a halo. Her eyes were red but dry. The bruise on her wrist had darkened to an angry purple. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed and took her hand, carefully mindful of the bruise. "How are you feeling?" "Tired," she paused. "Sad." Sad about what happened. I know it must have been frightening. Sad about Sophia. Marcus's jaw tightened. Mom, I know you liked her, but what she did... Marcus. Eleanor's voice was stronger now, more like the woman who had raised him single-handedly after his father left. Sophia didn't hurt me. You saw what you wanted to see. Her eyes met his, and there was something in them that made him pause. Or what someone wanted you to see. What are you saying? Eleanor turned her face toward the window, and for a long moment she didn't speak. When she did, her voice was barely a whisper. I'm saying that sometimes the people we love aren't the people we think they are. Marcus waited, but she said nothing more. Mom, I need you to tell me the truth. Did Sophia hurt you? Eleanor was silent for so long that Marcus thought she might have fallen asleep. Then in a voice so quiet, he had to lean closer to hear, No, she protected me. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. What do you mean she protected you? I mean exactly what I said. Eleanor turned to face him, and in the lamplight, he could see the fear still lingering in her eyes. She put herself between me and... She stopped. Between you and what, Mom? Between you and who? Eleanor's gaze flickered toward the door, as if she expected someone to be listening. It's late, she said finally. I'm tired. We'll talk tomorrow. No. Marcus's voice was firm. We'll talk now. If Sophia didn't hurt you, then who did? Who gave you that bruise? Eleanor looked at him for a long, searching moment. If I tell you, she whispered, promise me you won't do anything tonight. Promise me you'll wait until morning, until you've had time to think. Mom, promise me, Marcus. The urgency in her voice stopped him cold. Okay, he said slowly. I promise. Eleanor closed her eyes. It was Vanessa, she said. The name dropped into the silence like a stone into still water. Vanessa grabbed me. Vanessa shook me. Vanessa said I should have died years ago. She said she was going to put me in a home. Eleanor's voice trembled. And when Sophia tried to stop her, Vanessa kicked her. She kicked her in the ribs, in the back, and the hip. She beat that girl while she was on the ground protecting me. Marcus couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. And then you walked in, Eleanor continued, and Vanessa started crying, and she told you that Sophia had attacked me, and you believed her. You believed her without even asking me what happened. You fired the only person in this house who ever truly protected me. Her voice broke on the last words. Marcus sat frozen, his mind reeling. Mom, he said slowly, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that's what happened? Eleanor's eyes flashed with sudden fire. I may be old, Marcus, but I'm not senile. I know what I saw, I know what I felt, and I know that you just threw out the best person who ever worked for this family because a beautiful woman cried on your shoulder. The words hit him like a slap. He stood abruptly, his mind racing. I need to think, he said. You need to find Sophia, Eleanor interrupted, before it's too late, before she disappears and we lose her forever. Mom, I can't just... You can. Eleanor's voice was steel-wrapped in velvet. You made a mistake, Marcus. A terrible mistake. But it's not too late to fix it. It's not too late to do the right thing. Marcus looked at his mother, at the bruise on her wrist, at the truth shining in her eyes. And for the first time since he'd walked into that room, he began to question everything he thought he'd seen. Downstairs in the master bedroom, Vanessa Blake sat at her vanity, brushing her hair with long, methodical strokes. She studied her reflection in the mirror, the same reflection that had graced magazine covers and society pages for years. The same face that had charmed Charleston's elite, that had captured a billionaire's heart, that had gotten her everything she ever wanted. Almost everything. Eleanor Thornton remained a problem, but that problem had just become much smaller. Vanessa smiled at her reflection. The maid had been the perfect scapegoat, black working class without connections or resources to fight back. It had been almost too easy. Now Sophia was gone, and Eleanor was isolated, and Vanessa was one step closer to having everything she deserved. She set down the brush and reached for her phone, scrolling through her messages with a satisfied smile. Everything was going according to plan. What Vanessa didn't know, what she had never bothered to notice in her months of plotting and scheming, was the small camera mounted high in the corner of Eleanor's sitting room. Marcus had installed security cameras throughout the house months ago after a string of robberies in the neighborhood. They were discreet, nearly invisible, designed to capture everything without being noticed. And they had captured everything. Every word, every blow, every lie. The truth was sitting on a server in the basement waiting to be discovered. And Sophia Carter, lying awake in a cheap motel room, had no idea that she had been protected all along, not by wealth or power or connections, but by something much more powerful, the truth. And the truth, as they say, has a way of coming out. The morning after Sophia left, Marcus woke before dawn with his mother's words still burning in his mind. It was Vanessa. He lay still in the darkness, listening to Vanessa's soft breathing beside him. The woman he had planned to marry, the woman he had defended without question, the woman his mother had just accused of assault. His mind kept circling back to the same images, the bruise on his mother's wrist, the fear in Sophia's eyes, the way Vanessa's tears had started and stopped so perfectly, like a performance rehearsed 1,000 times. He slipped out of bed without waking her and made his way downstairs to his study. The house was silent at this hour, heavy with shadows and secrets. Marcus sat at his desk and pulled up the security system on his computer. He had installed cameras throughout the estate months ago, but he rarely checked the footage. There had never been a reason to, until now. His fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Part of him didn't want to know. Part of him wanted to believe that his mother was confused, that stress had clouded her memory, that the woman sleeping upstairs was exactly who she appeared to be. But another part of him, the part that had built a billion-dollar empire by trusting his instincts, knew better. He typed in the date, yesterday. He selected the camera in the sitting room. He pressed play. The footage began with his mother sitting alone reading a book. Peaceful, calm. Then Vanessa entered the frame, and everything changed. Marcus watched as his fiancée's face transformed from polite indifference to barely concealed contempt. He watched as she grabbed his mother's wrist, her nails digging into fragile skin. He watched as she shook an elderly woman like a rag doll while spitting words that made his blood run cold. "You should be grateful I even let you stay here. Most women would have shipped you off to a nursing home by now." His hands began to shake. Then Sophia appeared on screen, placing herself between Vanessa and his mother. He watched her take the slap without flinching. He watched her stand her ground while Vanessa screamed in her face. He watched her catch his mother when Vanessa shoved the old woman so hard she nearly fell. And then he watched Vanessa kick her, once, twice, 3 times. The stiletto heel driving into Sophia's hip, her ribs, her back, while she curled her body around his mother like a shield. Marcus couldn't breathe. The footage continued. He watched himself enter the room. He watched Vanessa's face transform, in an instant the rage melting into theatrical distress. He watched himself believe every word of her lies, while the woman who had protected his mother knelt on the floor with tears in her eyes. "You're fired. Pack your things and leave." His own voice, his own words, condemning an innocent woman while embracing a monster. Marcus slammed his fist against the desk so hard that pain shot up his arm. He didn't care. He welcomed it. He deserved it. He had stood in that room and watched justice die. He had been the executioner, and Vanessa had smiled behind his back the entire time. He saved the footage to a flash drive, then made a copy, then made another. His hands were still shaking, but his mind was clear now. Clearer than it had been in months. He knew what he had to do, but first, he had to find Sophia. Upstairs, Vanessa stirred in the empty bed and reached for Marcus. When her hand found cold sheets, she frowned and sat up. "Marcus?" No answer. She checked the bathroom. Empty. She checked the hallway. Quiet. A flicker of unease passed through her. Marcus never woke before her. He certainly never left the bedroom without telling her where he was going. She pulled on her silk robe and padded downstairs, following the faint glow of light coming from his study. The door was closed. She pressed her ear against it and heard the unmistakable sound of video playback, muffled voices. Her voice, You should be grateful I even let you stay here." Vanessa's blood turned to ice. She stepped back from the door, her mind racing. He had found the footage. He knew. Everything she had built over the past 6 months was about to come crashing down unless she acted fast. She took a deep breath and composed her features into an expression of sleepy concern. Then she knocked softly and pushed open the door. "Darling, what are you doing up so early?" Marcus didn't turn around. His shoulders were rigid, his back straight as a blade. "Close the door, Vanessa." Something in his voice made her stomach drop, but she forced a smile and stepped inside. "Is everything okay? I woke up and you were gone. I was worried." "Were you?" "Of course I was." She moved toward him, reaching out to touch his shoulder. "Marcus, what's wrong?" "You're scaring me." He finally turned to face her, and what she saw in his eyes made her take a step backward. Cold, hard, betrayed. "I found the security footage," he said quietly. Vanessa's smile froze on her face. "What security footage?" "Don't." His voice was soft, but it cut like a razor. "Don't insult my intelligence. Don't stand there and pretend you don't know exactly what I'm talking about." "Marcus, I don't understand. What footage? What?" He pressed a button on his computer, and suddenly her own voice filled the room, amplified and unmistakable. "You think you can tell me what to do in my own house? You're nothing but a burden to him. A sick, pathetic burden." Vanessa's face went white. That's taken out of context. Your mother was provoking me. She was saying terrible things about me. I watched the whole thing." Marcus's voice was deadly calm. "Every second. From the moment you walked into that room until the moment I fired an innocent woman for protecting my mother from you." "She wasn't innocent. She was manipulating your mother, turning her against me. She was shielding a 78-year-old woman from your kicks." Marcus stood, and for the first time Vanessa saw something in him that frightened her. "She took blows meant for my mother. She used her body as a shield while you beat her, and when I walked in she tried to tell me the truth, and I wouldn't listen." "Marcus, please. I watched you smile." His voice cracked slightly. "I watched the footage of you smiling behind my back while I fired her, while I threw out the only person in this house who actually gave a damn about my mother's well-being." Vanessa's mind raced. She had to salvage this. She had to find an angle, a way to twist this back in her favor. "I was stressed," she said quickly. "Your mother has been so difficult, and I've been trying so hard to make this work, and I just snapped. It was a moment of weakness. Everyone has moments of weakness. You kicked her in the ribs." "I barely touched her. I have it on video, Vanessa." His voice rose for the first time. "I can see exactly how hard you hit her. I can see the look on your face while you did it. That wasn't stress. That wasn't a moment of weakness. That was who you really are." Vanessa's expression shifted. The mask of the wounded fiancé began to slip, revealing something harder underneath. "Fine," she said, her voice dropping to a hiss. "So I lost my temper. So I put that maid in her place. Is that really worth throwing away everything we have, everything we've built together?" "Everything we've built." Marcus laughed bitterly. "What exactly have we built, Vanessa? A relationship based on lies, a future built on abuse. You beat my mother's caregiver while she was protecting a frail old woman. What kind of person does that?" "The kind of person who was trying to protect you." Vanessa's voice rose to match his. "Your mother has been poisoning you against me from day one. Every look, every sigh, every carefully placed comment about your ex-girlfriend. She wanted me gone, Marcus. She's been trying to destroy us since the moment we got engaged." "My mother has never said a word against you." "Not to your face." Vanessa stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "But I see the way she looks at me. I see the way she whispers to that maid behind closed doors. They were plotting against me, Marcus. Both of them. I was just defending myself." "Defending yourself?" Marcus stared at her in disbelief. "Against a 78-year-old woman with a heart condition. Against a caregiver half your size, that's your defense. You don't understand. I understand perfectly." He picked up the flash drive from his desk. "I understand that I've been blind. I understand that I let a beautiful face and a charming smile convince me to ignore every red flag. I understand that I failed my mother and an innocent woman because I was too proud to see what was right in front of me. Vanessa's eyes fixed on the flash drive. What are you going to do with that? Whatever I have to. Marcus, think about this. Her voice shifted, becoming softer, more pleading. If that footage gets out, it won't just destroy me. It'll destroy you, too. The scandal, the media attention, the damage to your reputation. Is that really what you want? What I want is to make this right. You can't make it right. Vanessa grabbed his arm. What's done is done. The maid is gone. Your mother is fine. We can move past this. We can put it behind us and pretend it never happened. Marcus pulled his arm free. Marry you. Have children with you. Spend the rest of my life wondering when you'll snap again. Wondering if our children will be safe. Vanessa went still. I would never hurt our children. You said you would never hurt my mother. Marcus's voice was quiet now, almost sad. You said you loved her like your own family. You said a lot of things, Vanessa, and I believed every word. That's my mistake, one I won't make again. He walked past her toward the door. Where are you going? To find Sophia. And then what? Vanessa's voice turned sharp again. You think she'll forgive you? You think she'll come running back after the way you treated her? You threw her out like garbage, Marcus. You didn't even let her finish a sentence. Marcus stopped at the door. He didn't turn around. You're right, he said quietly, and I'll have to live with that. But at least I'll be trying to make it right. That's more than you've ever done. If you walk out that door, we're done. Vanessa's voice trembled with fury. Do you hear me? If you choose that maid over me, I will destroy you. I will take everything. The house, the business, your reputation. I will make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are. Marcus finally turned to face her. Go ahead, he said. I've got footage of you beating a caregiver while she protected an elderly woman. I've got my mother's testimony. I've got bruises and medical records and a dozen witnesses who can testify to Sophia's character. You want to go to war, Vanessa? I've got enough ammunition to end you. Vanessa's face contorted with rage. You wouldn't dare. Try me. He walked out without looking back. Behind him, Vanessa stood, frozen in the study, her perfectly manicured hands clenched into fists. The mask she had worn for so long finally shattered, revealing the twisted fury underneath. But as Marcus climbed the stairs to check on his mother as he began planning how to find the woman he had wronged, Vanessa was already calculating her next move. She had not come this far to lose everything now. If Marcus wanted a war, she would give him one. But first, she needed leverage, and she knew exactly where to find it. 3 hours later, Marcus stood outside the Whisper Pines Lodge, staring at the faded neon sign, with a mixture of hope and dread. It had taken him all morning to track Sophia down. He had called every hotel, every motel, every boarding house in Charleston. He had driven to her listed address, only to find an apartment she had vacated months ago. He had even contacted the nursing agency that had placed her with his family, begging them for any information about where she might have gone. Finally, Linda had called with a tip. She had overheard Sophia mention a motel near the highway, a place where traveling nurses used to stay between shifts. And now here he was, standing in a parking lot, about to face the consequences of his own blindness. He took a deep breath and walked inside. The woman at the front desk looked up with suspicious eyes. Help you? I'm looking for someone. A woman who checked in yesterday. African American, late 20s, probably paid cash. Her name is Sophia Carter. The woman's expression didn't change. We don't give out information about our guests. Marcus reached into his wallet and pulled out $500 in cash. Please, it's important. I need to apologize to her. I made a terrible mistake and I need to make it right. The woman looked at the money, then at him. Room 7, she said finally. But if she doesn't want to see you, you leave. Understand? Understood. Marcus walked down the cracked sidewalk, his heart pounding harder with each step. Room 7 was at the end of the row, its door weathered and paint-chipped, a far cry from the marble floors and crystal chandeliers of his estate. This was where he had sent her. This was where his cruelty had landed her. He knocked. For a long moment there was only silence. Then he heard movement inside, footsteps approaching the door. It opened a crack just enough for him to see one eye peering out at him. "Mr. Thornton!" Sophia's voice was hoarse with shock. "Sophia, I need to talk to you, please." The door didn't move. "How did you find me?" "Linda, she was worried about you. He stopped, frustrated by his own inadequacy. "Please, Sophia, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes, and then if you want me to leave, I'll go, and I'll never bother you again." Silence stretched between them. Then slowly, reluctantly, the door opened. Sophia stood before him in the same clothes she had worn yesterday, her eyes red-rimmed, her posture guarded. But even now, even after everything he had done, she held herself with a dignity that made him feel small. 5 minutes, she said. He stepped inside, and the door closed behind him. The room was small and sparse, barely enough space for a bed and a desk. Sophia's duffel bag sat on the floor, still packed, as if she might need to run at any moment. Marcus felt the weight of his guilt pressing down on his chest. "I saw the footage," he said. Sophia went very still. "There are security cameras in the sitting room. I installed them months ago after the robberies in the neighborhood. I forgot they were even there until—" He stopped, struggling to find the words. "I saw everything, Sophia. Everything Vanessa did. Everything you did to protect my mother. Everything I—" His voice broke. "Everything I refused to see." Sophia said nothing. She just stood there watching him, her expression unreadable. "I'm sorry." The words felt pathetically inadequate. "I'm so sorry." I believed her without question. I threw you out without letting you explain. I stood in that room and watched her cry, and I never once thought to ask why you looked so afraid, why my mother was reaching for you, why nothing about the scene made sense. "You saw what you wanted to see," Sophia said quietly. "I saw what she wanted me to see." Marcus's voice was raw, and I was too blind, too arrogant, too in love with the idea of her to question it. That's not an excuse. There is no excuse. I need you to know that I know the truth now, and I'm going to make it right. How? The word came out sharp, edged with pain. How exactly are you going to make it right, Mr. Thornton? Are you going to unfire me? Are you going to erase the things you said? Are you going to give me back the 8 months of trust I built with your mother, the reputation I spent years building? I'm going to try. He met her eyes. I'm ending things with Vanessa. I'm going to make a public statement about what really happened. I'm going to clear your name completely, and if you'll let me, I want you to come back. Not as an employee, as family. Sophia's laugh was hollow. Family? That's rich. I mean it. You don't even know me, Mr. Thornton. You never did. To you, I was just the help. The black maid who took care of your mother so you didn't have to. You never asked about my life, my dreams, my family. You never wondered who I was outside of that uniform. Marcus flinched. You're right. I didn't. And that's another thing I need to change. Why? Sophia's voice rose. Why now? Because you feel guilty. Because you saw a video that confirmed what I tried to tell you in that room. You could have believed me then. You could have asked me what happened. You could have looked at your mother's face, really looked and seen the truth. But you didn't. You chose her. The beautiful, wealthy white woman who told you exactly what you wanted to hear. The words hit like blows, and Marcus took every one. You're right, he said. About everything. I chose wrong. I was a coward and a fool, and you paid the price for my blindness. But I'm here now, Sophia. I'm standing in front of you admitting that I was wrong. That has to count for something. Does it? Sophia's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Does admitting you were wrong bring back my dignity? Does it erase the humiliation of being thrown out like trash in front of the woman who had just beaten me? Does it fix the fact that your mother is still in that house with her, probably terrified out of her mind? Marcus's blood ran cold. What do you mean? I mean that Vanessa Blake is not going to go quietly. Sophia's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. I've seen women like her before. They don't lose gracefully. If you confront her, if you try to leave her, she will retaliate. And the easiest target for that retaliation is your mother. Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him. I have to go back. Yes, you do. Sophia grabbed her jacket. And I'm coming with you. Sophia, you don't have to. Your mother saved my life once. She cut him off, her voice fierce. She gave me a job when no one else would. She treated me like a daughter when I had no family left. I am not going to stand by while that woman hurts her again. She was already heading for the door. Marcus followed, his mind racing. He had left his mother alone in that house with Vanessa. He had been so focused on finding Sophia that he hadn't considered what might happen while he was gone. What had he done? They drove in tense silence, Marcus pushing the car as fast as he dared, while Sophia stared out the window with clenched fists. She'll have a plan, Sophia said finally. Vanessa, I mean, she's been planning for months, maybe years. Women like her don't just stumble into wealthy families. They target them. They study them. They find the weaknesses and exploit them. You think she targeted me? I think she saw a lonely man with an aging mother and a billion-dollar fortune, and she saw opportunity. Sophia turned to look at him. I'm not saying you're a fool, Mr. Thornton. I'm saying she's a predator, and predators are very, very good at what they do. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. Call me Marcus. Sophia raised an eyebrow. If we're going to take down a predator together, he said, you might as well use my first name. For the first time since he had arrived at her motel room, something like warmth flickered in Sophia's eyes. All right, Marcus. She turned back to the window. Let's go save your mother. They arrived at the mansion 20 minutes later. The gates were open, which was unusual. The front door was unlocked, which was unheard of. Marcus's heart began to pound. Something's wrong, he said. They rushed inside, their footsteps echoing in the empty foyer. Mom, Marcus called out. Mom, where are you? No answer. They checked the sitting room. Empty. The kitchen. Empty. The library, the dining room, the conservatory, all empty. Marcus took the stairs 2 at a time, Sophia right behind him. His mother's bedroom door was open. He burst through it and froze. Eleanor Thornton lay on the floor, her face pale, her breathing shallow. A broken lamp lay beside her, its cord tangled around her leg. And standing over her phone in hand was Vanessa Blake. Oh, there you are, Vanessa said calmly. I was just about to call for help. Your mother had a terrible fall. So tragic. She really shouldn't be walking around without supervision. Marcus dropped to his knees beside his mother. Mom, can you hear me? Eleanor's eyes fluttered open. Marcus, she breathed. She pushed me. She pushed. Shh, I know. Save your strength. She's delirious, Vanessa said smoothly. The fall must have rattled her. Poor thing. I tried to catch her, but she was just too fast. Sophia was already on the phone calling 911, her voice steady, despite the rage burning in her eyes. Ambulance is on the way, she said. Vanessa's expression flickered with annoyance. I see you brought the maid back. How touching. Did she convince you that I'm some kind of monster? Did she tell you her sad little story about how I kicked her because I have witnesses who will say otherwise? You have a camera that says otherwise. Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. I have the footage, Vanessa, all of it, including whatever just happened here. For the first time, real fear crossed Vanessa's face. That footage can be manipulated, edited. You can't prove. I can prove enough. Marcus stood slowly, placing himself between Vanessa and his mother. And even if I couldn't, even if every piece of evidence vanished tomorrow, I would still know the truth, and so would you. Vanessa's mask finally crumbled. You think you can throw me away like garbage? Her voice rose to a shriek. After everything I've done, everything I've sacrificed, I gave you the best years of my life, Marcus. I played the perfect girlfriend, the perfect fiancée, the perfect hostess at your pathetic charity events. And this is how you repay me. You beat my mother's caregiver. You terrorized a 78-year-old woman. You just pushed her to the floor and stood there watching while she struggled to breathe. Marcus's voice shook with barely contained fury. Whatever you thought we had, whatever future you imagined, it's over. Get out of my house. This isn't over. Vanessa grabbed her purse, her movements jerky with rage. You think that footage makes you untouchable? I know things about your company, about your investors, about the deals you've made. I will bury you, Marcus. I will leave. Sophia's voice cut through Vanessa's tirade like a blade. Now, before the ambulance arrives, before the police start asking questions about how an elderly woman ended up on the floor with her attacker standing over her. Vanessa's eyes blazed with hatred. You, she spat. You think you've won? You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. A black maid who got lucky. That's all you are. That's all you'll ever be. Sophia met her gaze without flinching. Maybe so, she said quietly. But at least I'll be able to sleep at night. Vanessa opened her mouth to respond, but the distant wail of sirens cut her off. She looked from Marcus to Sophia to Eleanor, and something in her expression shifted. The rage faded, replaced by cold calculation. This isn't over, she said again. Then she turned and walked out, her heels clicking against the marble, with each step the sound growing fainter until it disappeared entirely. Sophia knelt beside Eleanor, taking the old woman's hand. The ambulance is almost here, Mrs. Thornton. You're going to be okay. Eleanor's eyes found hers, and despite the pain, despite the fear, she managed a weak smile. I knew you'd come back, she whispered. I knew you wouldn't leave me. Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks. Never, she said. I'll never leave you again. Marcus stood at the window watching as Vanessa's car disappeared down the driveway. His hands were shaking, his heart pounding his mind, reeling from everything that had happened. But beneath the shock and the fury, something else was growing. Hope. For the first time in months, he could see clearly. He knew who his enemies were. He knew who his allies were. And he knew with absolute certainty what he had to do next. The ambulance pulled up to the front of the mansion, its lights flashing red and white against the afternoon sky. Marcus turned back to his mother, to Sophia, to the broken room where so many lies had been exposed. The truth had finally come to light. But Vanessa Blake's warning echoed in his mind. This isn't over. And somehow he knew she was right. The ambulance doors slammed shut, and Marcus watched as it carried his mother away. Sirens wailing into the fading afternoon light. Sophia stood beside him, her arms wrapped around herself, her face still streaked with tears. I should go with her, Marcus said. Then go. Sophia's voice was gentle but firm. I'll stay here. Make sure Vanessa doesn't come back. He hesitated, torn between the need to be with his mother and the fear of leaving Sophia alone. She could come back, he said. She could. I've handled worse than Vanessa Blake. Sophia met his eyes. Go. Your mother needs you more than I do right now. And Marcus nodded, but before he turned to leave, he reached into his pocket and pressed something into her hand. The flash drive. If anything happens to me, he said quietly, if Vanessa tries anything, if she hurts you or threatens you in any way, this goes to every news outlet in the country. Do you understand? Sophia looked down at the small device in her palm. I understand. There's a copy in my lawyer's safe, another one in a safety deposit box at First National, and the original footage is still on the server in the basement. She can't destroy all of it, no matter what she does. Sophia's fingers closed around the flash drive. Go, she said again. Be with Eleanor. I'll be here when you get back. Marcus climbed into his car and pulled out of the driveway, his hands trembling on the wheel. In the rearview mirror, he watched Sophia grow smaller until she disappeared from view. He didn't know if he would ever be able to make up for what he had done to her, but he was going to spend the rest of his life trying. At Charleston Memorial Hospital, the emergency room was a chaos of beeping machines and hurried footsteps. Marcus burst through the doors and found a nurse at the station. Eleanor Thornton, he said breathlessly. She just came in by ambulance. Where is she? The nurse checked her computer. Are you family? I'm her son. She's in trauma room 3. The doctor is with her now. Marcus didn't wait for directions. He ran down the hallway, dodging gurneys and medical carts, until he found the room. A doctor in blue scrubs was leaning over his mother's bed, a stethoscope pressed to her chest. Eleanor's eyes were closed, her face pale against the white pillow. "Mom," Marcus's voice cracked. The doctor looked up. "Mr. Thornton, how is she? Is she going to be okay?" "She has a fractured hip and some bruising to her ribs." The doctor's expression was serious. "For a woman her age with her heart condition, this is concerning. We're going to need to run some tests, monitor her closely for the next few days. But she'll recover. Barring any complications, yes." The doctor paused. "Mr. Thornton, can you tell me how this happened?" The paramedic said she was found on the floor of her bedroom. Marcus's jaw tightened. "She was pushed." The doctor's eyebrows rose. "Pushed by whom?" "My fiancé, former fiancé." The words tasted bitter on his tongue. "I have evidence, security footage. I'll be pressing charges." The doctor nodded slowly. "I'll need to note that in her chart, and I'm required to report any suspected abuse to the authorities." "Please do." Marcus moved to his mother's bedside, taking her frail hand in his. "Report everything. I want it all on record." The doctor left to make her calls, and Marcus was alone with his mother. Eleanor's eyes fluttered open. "Marcus?" Her voice was weak, barely more than a whisper. "I'm here, Mom. I'm right here. Sophia." The name came out urgent, worried. "Is Sophia—" "She's safe. She's at the house. She came back, Mom. She came back for you." Tears slipped down Eleanor's weathered cheeks. "I knew she would. I knew she wouldn't leave me." "She never did." Marcus squeezed his mother's hand. "I'm the one who left. I'm the one who threw her out. But I'm going to make it right, Mom. I promise you. I'm going to make all of it right." Eleanor's eyes searched his face. "You saw the footage." "I saw everything." "Then you know." Her grip tightened with surprising strength. "You know what that woman is, what she's capable of." "I know." "She won't stop, Marcus." Eleanor's voice took on an edge of fear. "She won't just walk away. She'll come back. She'll find a way to hurt us, to hurt Sophia. She's already taken so much. She'll take more if you let her." "I won't let her. Promise me." Eleanor's eyes locked onto his. "Promise me you'll protect that girl. She saved my life, Marcus. Twice now. She deserves better than what this family has given her." Marcus felt the weight of his mother's words settle on his shoulders. "I promise." Eleanor closed her eyes, exhausted by the effort of speaking. Within moments, her breathing had deepened into sleep. Marcus stayed by her bedside, holding her hand, watching the monitors track her heartbeat in steady green lines. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from an unknown number. He opened it, and his blood ran cold. The message contained a single photograph. Sophia standing in the foyer of his mansion, clearly taken from outside through a window. Below it, 3 words. "She's not safe." Marcus was out of the chair and running before the phone even made it back into his pocket. Back at the mansion, Sophia had locked every door and checked every window twice. The house felt different now. Larger. Emptier. The shadows seemed to stretch longer, and every creak of the old building made her pulse spike. She told herself she was being paranoid. Vanessa was gone. She had watched her drive away. There was no reason to think she would come back so soon. But something didn't feel right. She walked through the sitting room, her footsteps echoing in the silence. The broken teacup had been cleaned up, the furniture righted, but the memory of what had happened here still lingered like a stain. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. "Hello." Silence. "Hello, who is this?" A soft laugh drifted through the speaker. Feminine. Familiar. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" Vanessa's voice was silky controlled. "Did you really think you could just waltz back into that house and take everything that belongs to me?" Sophia's grip tightened on the phone. "Nothing in this house belongs to you. Everything in that house belongs to me." Vanessa's voice hardened. "I spent 2 years building my position, 2 years of smiling at that pathetic old woman, 2 years of pretending to love a man who can barely hold a conversation, 2 years of waiting for my payday. And you think you can just sweep in and take it all away?" "I'm not taking anything. I'm just protecting a woman who deserves better than you." "Protecting her?" Vanessa laughed again. "You can't even protect yourself. Do you have any idea how easy it would be for me to destroy you one phone call and I could have you arrested for assault? One story to the press and your name would be ruined. One accident and you would simply disappear. Sophia felt ice crawl down her spine, but she kept her voice steady. Threats, Vanessa, really? Is that all you have left? They're not threats, they're promises. Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. Look behind you. Sophia spun around. The sitting room was empty, but through the window she could see a figure standing in the garden. A woman in a white coat phone pressed to her ear, staring directly at her. Vanessa smiled and waved. Sophia's heart slammed against her ribs. How did you get back here so fast? I never left. Vanessa's voice was triumphant. I pulled around the block and waited. I knew Marcus would run to the hospital. I knew he would leave you alone. He's so predictable, that man, so easy to manipulate. Sophia backed away from the window, her mind racing. The police are on their way. Eleanor told them everything. Eleanor is an old woman with a heart condition who just suffered a traumatic fall. Her testimony is worthless. Vanessa began walking toward the house. By the time anyone believes her, I'll be long gone. And so will you. The line went dead. Sophia ran for the front door, checking the lock. Secure. She ran to the back door. Secure. The kitchen door, the side entrance, the garage. All locked. But she could hear footsteps now, somewhere outside, circling, testing. She grabbed the nearest weapon she could find, a heavy brass candlestick from the mantel, and positioned herself in the hallway with her back to the wall. Her phone buzzed again, a text this time, from Marcus Cumming. Stay hidden. Police called. She exhaled shakily. Help was coming. She just had to stay alive until it arrived. A window shattered somewhere in the back of the house. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She pressed herself against the wall, straining to hear. Footsteps, light and quick, moving through the kitchen. Sophia, Vanessa's voice echoed through the empty house. There's no point in hiding. I know every inch of this place. I know where the spare keys are kept, which floorboards creak, which doors can be forced. You can't hide from me. Sophia didn't respond. She barely breathed. The footsteps grew closer. You know what the funny thing is? Vanessa's voice was conversational, almost casual. I never actually hated you. Not at first. You were just the help, invisible, irrelevant. But then you started getting too close to Eleanor, too protective, too important. And I realized you were a threat. She was in the hallway now. Sophia could hear her just around the corner. I should have gotten rid of you months ago, but I kept thinking you would quit on your own, that the pressure would be too much, that you would do what everyone in your position does and simply walk away. A pause. But you didn't walk away, did you? You stayed. You fought. And now here we are. Vanessa stepped around the corner. For a moment, the two women simply stared at each other. Sophia with the candlestick raised, Vanessa with something gleaming in her hand. A knife. Put that down, Vanessa said softly. You're embarrassing yourself. Stay back. Sophia's voice didn't waver. The police are on their way. Marcus is on his way. It's over, Vanessa. Whatever you're planning, it's not going to work. What I'm planning is simple. Vanessa took a step closer. I'm going to tell everyone that you broke into the house, that you attacked me when I tried to stop you, that I had to defend myself. It's your word against mine, Sophia, and we both know whose word carries more weight in this world. There are cameras everywhere. Vanessa smiled. The first thing I did when I came back was disable the security system. Marcus should really use a more secure password. Sophia's heart sank. You think you've thought of everything. I have. Vanessa raised the knife. I always do. She lunged. Sophia swung the candlestick with every ounce of strength she had. It connected with Vanessa's arm, sending the knife clattering across the floor. Vanessa screamed, clutching her wrist, and Sophia ran. She made it to the front door, fumbled with the lock, threw it open, and ran straight into Marcus Thornton. Sophia! He caught her by the shoulders. Are you okay? Are you hurt? She's inside. Sophia gasped for breath. She has a knife. She disabled the cameras. A police siren wailed in the distance, growing louder. Marcus pushed Sophia behind him and stepped into the house. "Vanessa!" His voice boomed through the mansion. "It's over. The police are here. Come out now, and this can end without anyone else getting hurt." Silence, then footsteps, slow, deliberate. Vanessa appeared at the end of the hallway, her hair disheveled, her arm cradled against her chest. But even now, even cornered, there was a dangerous light in her eyes. "Marcus, darling." Her voice was sweet poison. "You came back. I knew you would. You always come back. Stay where you are. We can still fix this." She took a step toward him. "We can tell the police it was all a misunderstanding, a domestic dispute that got out of hand. They'll believe us. They always believe people like us." "People like us?" Marcus's voice dripped with disgust. "There is no us, Vanessa. There never was. Not really." "Don't say that." Her voice cracked. "Don't you dare say that. I gave you everything. I gave up everything. My career, my independence, my life, all for you." "You gave up nothing." Marcus's voice was cold. "You took. That's all you've ever done. Take, manipulate, destroy. And it ends now." The police cars pulled up to the mansion lights, flashing doors slamming. Officers rushed up the driveway, guns drawn. Vanessa looked from Marcus to the police to Sophia, and something in her expression shifted. The desperation faded, replaced by cold calculation. "This isn't over," she said quietly. "You can arrest me. You can press charges. You can do whatever you want. But I will destroy you, Marcus Thornton. I will take everything you love, starting with her." Her eyes locked onto Sophia. "I will never stop," Vanessa whispered. "Do you hear me? I will never, ever stop." Two officers grabbed her arms and forced them behind her back. She didn't resist. She just kept staring at Sophia with those cold, dead eyes as they led her out of the house and into the waiting patrol car. Sophia watched her go, the weight of Vanessa's threat settling over her like a shroud. Marcus came to stand beside her, his hand finding hers. "She can't hurt you anymore," he said quietly. "I won't let her." Sophia wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that this nightmare was finally over, that she could finally breathe again. But she had seen the look in Vanessa's eyes, and she knew with absolute certainty that the danger was far from past. 3 hours later, Sophia sat in the police station, giving her statement for the third time. The detective across from her was a gray-haired woman named Harris, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "So you're saying, Ms. Blake broke into the house through a back window, pursued you through the residence, and attacked you with a knife?" "Yes." "And this was after she had already assaulted the victim's mother earlier that day?" "Yes." "And you have video footage of the earlier assault?" "Mr. Thornton has it, multiple copies." Detective Harris nodded, scribbling notes in her pad. "Ms. Blake is claiming self-defense. She says you attacked her when she entered the house." "That's a lie. She also claims that you've been having an affair with Mr. Thornton and that this entire situation is a scheme to remove her from the picture so you can take her place." Sophia felt heat rise to her cheeks. "That is absolutely not true. I've never had any romantic involvement with Mr. Thornton. I was his mother's caregiver, nothing more." "But you did return to the house today after being fired." "Because Mr. Thornton asked me to, because he saw the footage and realized he had made a mistake. Because his mother was in danger." Harris studied her for a long moment. "You understand how this looks, Ms. Carter. A wealthy family, a black caregiver, a scorned fiancée. The press is going to have a field day with this." "I don't care how it looks." Sophia's voice was steady. "I care about the truth. And the truth is that Vanessa Blake is a violent, manipulative woman who has been terrorizing an elderly woman for months. She belongs in prison." Harris set down her pen. "Based on the footage Mr. Thornton provided, I'm inclined to agree with you. We're holding Ms. Blake on charges of assault, breaking and entering, and attempted assault with a deadly weapon. Given the evidence, I don't expect she'll be getting bail." Sophia exhaled relief, washing over her. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Harris stood gathering her files. "Ms. Blake has expensive lawyers and powerful connections. This is going to be a long fight. Are you prepared for that?" Sophia thought about Eleanor lying in a hospital bed with a broken hip. She thought about the bruises on her own body still aching with every movement. She thought about the months of fear and humiliation she had endured. "Yes," she said quietly. "I'm prepared." Marcus was waiting for her in the lobby, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. "How did it go?" "They're charging her." Sophia took the coffee gratefully. "Assault, breaking, and entering attempted assault with a deadly weapon." "Good." Marcus's jaw tightened. "It's not enough, but it's a start." They walked out of the police station into the cool evening air. The sun had set while Sophia was giving her statement, and the city was settling into the quiet rhythm of night. "I called the hospital," Marcus said. "My mother is stable. They're keeping her overnight for observation, but the doctor says she should be able to come home in a few days." "That's good news." "It is." He paused, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Sophia, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me." "I'm always honest." "I know." He took a breath. "I want you to come back. Not just temporarily. Permanently. I want you to be part of our family." Sophia stared at him. "Marcus, I don't think—" "Not like that." He held up his hands quickly. I don't mean romantically. I just mean I want you to stay. My mother needs you. I need you. Not as an employee, not as the help, but as someone who actually cares about this family." Sophia was silent for a long moment. "Your mother cared about me when no one else did," she said finally. "She gave me a chance when everyone else had written me off. I owe her everything. But I can't just pretend the last 2 days didn't happen. I can't pretend you didn't throw me out without a second thought." Marcus flinched. "I know, and I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just asking you to give me a chance to do better, to be better." Sophia looked at him, at the genuine remorse in his eyes, at the vulnerability he was finally allowing her to see. "I'll stay," she said slowly, "for Eleanor. But if you ever doubt me again, if you ever choose anyone's word over mine, without even asking for my side of the story, I'm gone, and I won't come back." "I understand. Do you—" She held his gaze. "Because this isn't just about trust, Marcus. This is about respect, about seeing me as a person, not just the help. Can you do that?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I can try," he said finally. "That's all I can promise. But I will try every single day for the rest of my life." Sophia nodded slowly. "Then we have a deal." They shook hands, a formal gesture that somehow felt like a new beginning. Marcus's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen and his face went pale. "What is it?" Sophia asked. He turned the phone toward her. A news alert. A photograph of Vanessa Blake, perfectly composed, speaking to reporters outside the police station. The headline read, "Fiancée of tech billionaire claims domestic abuse, says caregiver and mother conspired against her." Sophia's heart sank. She's already spinning the story. "Of course she is." Marcus's voice was grim. "She's been preparing for this her whole life." He looked at Sophia, and she saw the determination burning in his eyes. "But so have we." The next 72 hours were a war fought on every front. Vanessa's interview played on every local news channel, her tearful face filling screens across Charleston. She spoke of abuse, manipulation, isolation. She painted Marcus as a controlling monster who had turned his own mother against her. She painted Sophia as a scheming opportunist who had seduced her way into the family's good graces. And worst of all, people believed her. The comments sections filled with sympathy. Social media exploded with hashtags supporting the wrongly accused fiancé. Former business associates called Marcus to express concern, their voices carefully neutral, testing which way the wind was blowing. Sophia watched it all unfold from Eleanor's hospital room, her stomach churning with every new headline. "Don't let her get to you." Eleanor's voice was weak but steady. "That's exactly what she wants." Sophia turned away from her phone. How can you be so calm? She's lying about everything. She's making you look like a senile old woman who can't remember her own name. Because I know the truth. Eleanor reached for Sophia's hand. And so do you. And so does Marcus. That's all that matters. It's not enough. Sophia's voice cracked. She has money lawyers' connections. She has an entire media machine spinning her story. What do we have? We have the footage, which she's claiming was edited, manipulated, taken out of context. Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "We have something else." "What?" "We have each other." The old woman squeezed Sophia's hand. "We have people who know who she really is. Linda saw what happened. The doctors have documented my injuries. The police have her knife with her fingerprints on it. The truth is on our side, Sophia. We just have to be patient enough to let it work." Sophia wanted to believe her. She wanted to have faith that justice would prevail, that truth would win out over lies. But she had seen too much of the world to be that naive. Marcus arrived at the hospital an hour later, his face drawn, his suit rumpled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "How is she?" he asked Sophia in the hallway. "Stronger than she should be. She's worried about you." Marcus laughed bitterly. "She's the one in the hospital bed and she's worried about me." "That's who she is." Sophia studied his face. "What's happening out there?" "Chaos." He ran a hand through his hair. "My PR team is working overtime. My lawyers are preparing a counterstatement. We're going to release the full footage unedited with a timeline and documentation proving its authenticity." "Will that be enough?" "It has to be." His jaw tightened. "I've already lost 2 investors who don't want to be associated with the scandal. My stock price dropped 8% this morning. If this goes on much longer..." He trailed off, but Sophia understood. "She's trying to destroy you financially. She's trying to destroy me completely." Marcus met her eyes. "But I won't let her. I won't give her the satisfaction." Sophia nodded slowly. "What can I do? Stay with my mother. Keep her safe. That's all I ask." "I can do more than that." Sophia's voice hardened. "I can tell my story, on camera, in front of the whole world." Marcus's eyes widened. "Sophia, you don't have to do that. The media will tear you apart. They'll dig into every aspect of your life, twist everything you say." "I know." She cut him off. "I know exactly what they'll do. But right now, Vanessa is the only voice people are hearing. If I stay silent, her lies become the truth. I can't let that happen." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." He nodded slowly, something like admiration flickering in his eyes. "Then let's do it together." The press conference was scheduled for the next morning. Marcus's PR team arranged everything, a conference room at the Thornton Industries headquarters, carefully positioned cameras, a podium with the company logo prominently displayed. But when Sophia walked into that room and saw the sea of journalists, microphones, and flashing cameras, her courage nearly failed her. "You don't have to do this." Marcus stood beside her, his voice low. "You can still back out." "No." Sophia took a deep breath. "I've spent my whole life backing out, staying quiet, hoping things would get better if I just kept my head down. It never worked. It's time to try something different." She stepped up to the podium. The room fell silent. "My name is Sophia Carter." Her voice was steady, stronger than she felt. 2 days ago, I was fired from my job as caregiver to Eleanor Thornton. I was accused of assault, thrown out of the house I had worked in for 8 months, and branded a criminal by the woman who had actually committed the crime. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "I'm here today to tell you what really happened. Not the version Vanessa Blake wants you to believe, not the sanitized story her lawyers have crafted. The truth." She told them everything. The months of escalating cruelty, the verbal abuse Eleanor had suffered in silence, the day Vanessa finally snapped and attacked the old woman she was supposed to love, the kicks, the slaps, the words that had cut deeper than any blow. And she told them about the man standing beside her. "Mr. Thornton made a mistake." Sophia's voice softened. "He believed the wrong person. He threw me out without listening to my side of the story. But when he learned the truth, when he saw the footage with his own eyes, he did something most people in his position would never do. He admitted he was wrong. He came to find me. He apologized. She turned to look at Marcus. I won't pretend that makes everything okay. It doesn't. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But I believe in second chances. And I believe that this man, despite his mistakes, is trying to do the right thing. She turned back to the cameras. Vanessa Blake is not a victim. She is an abuser who has spent months terrorizing an elderly woman and using her position of power to silence anyone who stood in her way. I am living proof of what she's capable of, and I will not be silent anymore. She stepped back from the podium, her heart pounding. The room erupted in questions, shouting, chaos, but Sophia barely heard any of it. All she could hear was the blood rushing in her ears, the weight of everything she had just said settling around her like armor. She had done it. She had spoken her truth to the world. Now she could only pray that the world was listening. The footage was released that afternoon. Every major news outlet ran it. The unedited video, 47 minutes long, showed everything. Vanessa's cruelty, Sophia's courage, Eleanor's terror. It showed Marcus walking in believing the lies, sending Sophia away. It showed the moment after he left when Vanessa turned to the camera she didn't know was there and smiled. That smile changed everything. Within hours, the narrative shifted. The hashtag supporting Vanessa disappeared, replaced by ones demanding justice. Former friends came forward with stories of her manipulation. Former employees spoke of bullying and abuse. A pattern emerged, ugly and undeniable. By nightfall, Vanessa Blake's carefully constructed image had collapsed. But she wasn't done fighting. The call came at 11 that night. Sophia was sitting with Eleanor in the hospital room, both women watching the news coverage in stunned silence. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? You think you've won? Vanessa's voice was cold, stripped of all pretense. You think you've destroyed me? Sophia's blood ran cold. How did you get this number? I have my ways. A soft laugh. Did you enjoy your moment in the spotlight? Your 15 minutes of fame, savor it while you can. It won't last. You're done, Vanessa. Everyone has seen who you really are. Have they? Vanessa's voice hardened. Or have they just seen what Marcus wanted them to see, edited footage, coached statements, a carefully orchestrated media campaign? You think the public won't figure that out eventually? You think they won't turn on you the moment someone offers them a different story? What different story? The real one. Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. The one where the poor black maid seduced a vulnerable billionaire and manipulated his senile mother into supporting her claims. The one where I'm the victim of a coordinated attack by a family desperate to cover up their own secrets. That's insane. Is It Scandal sells Sophia, and I've got enough dirt on Marcus Thornton to keep the tabloids busy for years. Secret deals, questionable investments, women he's paid to go away. You think you know him, you don't know anything. Sophia's hand tightened on the phone. You're bluffing. Am I? A pause. Ask him about the Hartwell deal. Ask him what really happened to his former assistant Jennifer. Ask him why he moved to Charleston in the first place. Another soft laugh. Then tell me I'm bluffing. The line went dead. Sophia stared at her phone, her mind racing. Eleanor's voice came from the bed. What did she say? Nothing. Sophia forced herself to smile. Just more threats. She's desperate. But even as she said the words, doubt began to creep into her heart. Who was Marcus Thornton really? She had known him for 8 months, but how much of that time had been spent actually talking to him? He was her employer, not her friend. A kind employer, yes, but still a stranger in many ways. What secrets was he hiding, and how far would Vanessa go to expose them? Marcus arrived at the hospital the next morning, looking worse than ever. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw shadowed with stubble. We need to talk. Sophia pulled him into the hallway away from Eleanor's room. What's wrong? Vanessa called me last night. Marcus's face darkened. She's not supposed to have access to a phone. She's in custody. Apparently that didn't stop her. Sophia crossed her arms.
She made threats, Marcus. She said she has information about you, secrets that could destroy everything.
Something flickered in his eyes. Fear, guilt. She couldn't tell. What kind of secrets? The Hartwell deal. Someone named Jennifer. The reason you moved to Charleston. Marcus was very still. She's trying to manipulate you. Is she... Sophia held his gaze. Because the way you're looking at me right now doesn't make me feel like she's lying. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Marcus let out a long breath. The Hartwell deal was a business transaction that went bad. People lost money. I made decisions I'm not proud of. But it was legal. Questionable maybe, but legal. And Jennifer... His jaw tightened. Jennifer was my assistant for 3 years. We had a relationship. It ended badly. I paid her a settlement to avoid a lawsuit. That's all. That's all. That's all that matters. His voice hardened. Sophia, I'm not a perfect man. I've made mistakes. I've hurt people. But I've never done anything criminal, and I've never done anything that would put my mother or you in danger. Sophia studied his face, searching for the lie. And Charleston. Why did you really move here? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. My father, he said finally. He died here, 20 years ago. He was having an affair with a woman in the city. My mother found out, confronted him, and he left. 3 months later, he was dead, heart attack. I found out later that the woman he'd been seeing was pregnant. Sophia's breath caught. You have a sibling, a half-sister. I've never met her. I don't even know if she knows I exist. Marcus's voice was heavy with old pain. I came to Charleston to find her, to make peace with my father's memory, to give my mother a chance to heal in the place where everything fell apart. Does she know your mother? She knows I've been looking. She doesn't know I found her. You found her? Sophia's eyes widened. Who is she? Marcus was silent. Marcus, who is your half-sister? He met her eyes, and what she saw there made her stomach drop. Vanessa Blake. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Sophia couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what she had just heard. Vanessa is your sister. Half-sister. Marcus's voice was hollow. I figured it out about 6 months ago. DNA records, birth certificates, hospital documents. My father's affair resulted in a pregnancy. That child was adopted by the Blake family when she was 3 years old. Her birth name was Victoria Thornton. Does she know? I don't know. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. I was planning to tell her. I was going to wait until after the wedding, sit her down, explain everything. I thought if she knew we were family, really family, she would finally feel like she belonged, like she had a place in this world. But instead, she tried to destroy you. Instead, she tried to take everything that should have been hers by birth. Marcus's voice cracked. Don't you see Sophia? She's not just a gold digger. She's not just a manipulator. She's a woman who spent her entire life knowing she was abandoned, knowing she wasn't good enough, knowing that somewhere out there she had a family who didn't want her. Sophia felt the ground shifting beneath her feet. That doesn't excuse what she did. No, it doesn't. Marcus met her eyes. But it explains it, and it makes what comes next even harder. What comes next? The trial. The testimony, the public exposure of everything she's done. His voice hardened. She's my sister Sophia, my blood, and I'm going to have to stand up in court and destroy her. Sophia didn't know what to say, didn't know how to process the tangle of emotions competing for space in her chest. Sympathy for a woman she had every reason to hate, anger at a man who had kept such a devastating secret, confusion about what any of this meant for the future. You should have told me, she said finally. You should have told everyone. I know. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. I was afraid. Afraid of what people would think. Afraid of what my mother would feel. Afraid that if the truth came out, everything would fall apart. Everything fell apart anyway. I know. He closed his eyes. I know. They stood in silence for a long moment, the weight of revelation pressing down on them both. Finally, Sophia spoke. What are you going to do? Marcus opened his eyes. The despair that had filled them moments before was gone, replaced by something harder, more determined. I'm going to tell the truth. All of it. I'm going to stand up in court and explain exactly who Vanessa Blake really is. I'm going to show the world that she's not just an abuser, but a woman consumed by rage at a family she believes abandoned her. And then I'm going to try to help her. His voice softened. She's sick, Sophia. She's been sick for a long time. Maybe if someone had reached out to her sooner, if someone had told her the truth about where she came from, things would have been different. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Maybe not. Marcus met her eyes. But I have to try. She's my sister. Whatever she's done, whatever she becomes, that will never change. Sophia looked at him, at the pain and determination warring in his face, and felt something shift inside her. She had thought she knew what kind of man Marcus Thornton was. A billionaire, a businessman, a man who had wronged her and was trying to make amends. But he was more than that. He was a man carrying the weight of his father's mistakes, trying to build something meaningful out of the wreckage of his family. He was human, flawed, trying, just like her. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. I'll stand with you. Through the trial, the testimony, whatever comes next. But no more secrets, Marcus. No more lies. If we're going to do this together, I need to know everything. Marcus nodded slowly. Everything, he agreed. She held out her hand. He took it. And somewhere in the depths of the Charleston County Jail, Vanessa Blake stared at the ceiling of her cell and smiled. She had lost this battle, but the war was far from over. The trial began on a cold Monday morning, 6 weeks after Vanessa Blake's arrest. Sophia sat in the front row of the courtroom, Eleanor beside her in a wheelchair, Marcus on her other side. The three of them formed a wall of solidarity against the woman who had tried to destroy them all. Vanessa entered in an orange jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, her face stripped of makeup. She looked smaller somehow, diminished like a snake that had shed its skin and couldn't grow a new one. But when her eyes found Sophia's across the courtroom, the old hatred still burned there. Sophia didn't look away. The prosecution laid out their case with methodical precision. They presented the footage, the medical records, the police reports. They called witnesses who testified to Vanessa's pattern of manipulation and abuse. They painted a picture of a woman consumed by greed and rage, willing to destroy anyone who stood in her way. And then they called Sophia to the stand. She walked to the witness box on legs that felt like water, her heart pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. She placed her hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. The truth. It was such a simple word for something so complicated. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman named Davidson, began with the basics. How long had Sophia worked for the Thornton family? What were her duties? What was her relationship with Eleanor? Sophia answered each question carefully, keeping her voice steady, her gaze fixed on a point just above Vanessa's head. And then the questions got harder. Ms. Carter, can you describe what you witnessed on the afternoon of October 15th? Sophia took a deep breath. I was in the adjacent room when I heard Mrs. Thornton cry out. I ran in and found Miss Blake grabbing her by the wrist, shaking her, screaming at her. She said terrible things. She said Mrs. Thornton should have died years ago. She said she was going to put her in a home. What did you do? I tried to intervene. I placed myself between Miss Blake and Mrs. Thornton. I tried to get her to calm down. And how did Miss Blake respond? Sophia's voice caught. She hit me. She slapped me across the face. And when I still wouldn't move, when I kept protecting Mrs. Thornton, she kicked me. Multiple times. In my hip, my ribs, my back. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. And then what happened? Mr. Thornton came home. He walked in and saw me on the floor with his mother. Miss Blake started crying, told him I had attacked her. He believed her. He fired me on the spot. Without hearing your side of the story, without letting me finish a single sentence. Davidson nodded. Thank you, Ms. Carter. No further questions. The defense attorney rose. He was a silver-haired man with cold eyes, the kind of lawyer who made his living destroying witnesses on cross-examination. Ms. Carter, his voice was smooth, almost friendly. You stated that you placed yourself between my client and Mrs. Thornton. Is that correct? Yes. And in doing so, you physically touched Mrs. Thornton. I caught her when she was about to fall. You grabbed her. I caught her. Sophia's voice hardened. There's a difference. Is there? The lawyer smiled slightly. Because from the footage, it looks like you tackled an elderly woman to the ground. I was protecting her from your client's kicks. Or you were using her as a shield while you attacked my client. Objection. Davidson was on her feet. The footage shows what Mr. Thornton wants us to see. The defense attorney turned to the jury. An edited version of events carefully crafted to support his narrative. We have no way of knowing what happened before or after the recording began. The footage is time-stamped and authenticated, Davidson countered. Independent experts have verified. Independent experts paid by Mr. Thornton. The judge banged her gavel. That's enough. The jury will disregard that last comment. Counselor, do you have any actual questions for the witness? The defense attorney smiled thinly. Just one more, Your Honor. He turned back to Sophia. Ms. Carter, isn't it true that you have romantic feelings for Marcus Thornton? Sophia felt heat rise to her cheeks. No, that's not true. Isn't it true that you saw my client as an obstacle to your ambitions, that you wanted her out of the picture so you could take her place? That's absurd. Is it? He stepped closer. A poor black woman working as a maid in a billionaire's household suddenly finds herself at the center of a scandal that removes her employer's fiancé from the picture. Quite a convenient turn of events, wouldn't you say? Sophia's hands clenched in her lap. There was nothing convenient about being beaten while trying to protect an elderly woman. There was nothing convenient about being thrown out of my job and branded a criminal. There was nothing convenient about any of this. But here you are. The lawyer spread his hands. Back in the Thornton household, living under their roof, protected by their lawyers. One might say you've done quite well for yourself. One might say I survived. Sophia met his eyes without flinching. Which is more than your client wanted me to do. The lawyer's smile faltered. No further questions. Sophia stepped down from the stand, her legs trembling, her heart still racing. As she passed Vanessa's table, she heard a whisper so soft she almost missed it. This isn't over. Sophia didn't respond. She just kept walking. The trial continued for 3 more days. Marcus testified about the footage, about his discovery of Vanessa's true identity, about the secrets that had brought them all to this moment. His voice broke when he spoke about his father, about the affair that had created Vanessa, about his misguided attempt to make her part of the family. Eleanor testified about the months of abuse she had suffered in silence, about her fear of speaking up, about the day Sophia had saved her life. Her voice was weak but unwavering, and when she finished, half the jury was in tears. And then it was Vanessa's turn. She took the stand in a gray dress that made her look almost innocent, her hair soft around her face, her expression carefully composed. The defense attorney led her through her story with gentle questions, painting a picture of a woman misunderstood, maligned, victimized by a family that had never accepted her. I only ever wanted to belong, Vanessa said, her voice trembling. I grew up knowing I was adopted, knowing I wasn't wanted. When I found out who my real father was, when I realized I had a family out there, a brother, I thought maybe finally I would have a place where I fit. And what happened when you tried to connect with that family? They rejected me. A tear slipped down her cheek. Eleanor never accepted me. She saw me as an outsider, an intruder. She made it clear from the first day that I would never be good enough, never be a real Thornton. And what about the allegations of abuse? I never hurt anyone. Vanessa's voice rose with conviction. I admit I lost my temper sometimes. Who wouldn't, living in a house where you're constantly reminded that you don't belong? But I never hit Eleanor. I never kicked Sophia. The footage, it doesn't show the whole picture. It doesn't show how they provoked me, how they pushed me to my breaking point. Sophia felt her stomach turn. The prosecutor rose for cross-examination, her expression sharp. Miss Blake, you claim you never hurt anyone, but we have footage showing you kicking Ms. Carter multiple times while she was on the ground protecting Mrs. Thornton. How do you explain that the footage is edited? Independent experts have verified its authenticity. Experts paid by my brother. Vanessa's voice hardened. Marcus has unlimited resources. He can buy whatever testimony he wants. Let's talk about your brother. Davidson stepped closer. When did you discover that Marcus Thornton was your half-sibling? Vanessa hesitated. I found out during the investigation. Really? Because records show you hired a private investigator 3 years ago to research the Thornton family. Records show you approached Marcus at a charity event, specifically targeted him, began a relationship with him knowing exactly who he was. Vanessa's composure cracked. You knew he was your brother when you started dating him. You knew when he proposed. You knew when you moved into his house and began systematically abusing his mother. Didn't you? I wasn't abusing anyone. You were punishing her. Davidson's voice was cold. You were punishing an old woman for the sins of a dead man, for your father's affair, for his abandonment, for every injustice you felt life had dealt you. You couldn't hurt him, so you hurt her instead. That's not true. You found out your father had another family, a legitimate family, and you decided to take everything that should have been yours. You didn't want to belong, Ms. Blake. You wanted to destroy. Vanessa's mask shattered. They took everything from me, she screamed. Everything. My father chose them over me. He left me in foster care while he went home to his perfect wife and his perfect son, and they got the mansion, the money, the name, while I got nothing. Nothing. The courtroom fell silent. Vanessa's chest heaved, her face twisted with decades of rage and pain. I deserved that life, she whispered. I deserved to be a Thornton. I deserved everything they had, and they wouldn't even acknowledge I existed. Davidson let the silence stretch. No further questions, Your Honor. Vanessa was escorted back to the defense table, her body shaking, her eyes wild. She didn't look at Marcus. She didn't look at anyone. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Sophia spent those hours in a small room with Eleanor and Marcus, the three of them bound together by tension and hope and fear. What if they believe her? Eleanor's voice was barely above a whisper. What if they think we're the ones who... They won't. Marcus took his mother's hand. The evidence is overwhelming. The jury saw the footage. They heard the testimony. They know the truth. The truth doesn't always win, Sophia said quietly. Marcus looked at her. It will this time. It has to. The bailiff appeared in the doorway. The jury's back. They returned to the courtroom, to their seats in the front row, to the weight of judgment hanging over them all. The jury foreman stood, a middle-aged man with tired eyes and a solemn expression. On the charge of assault in the first degree, how do you find guilty? Eleanor let out a sob. On the charge of assault with a deadly weapon, how do you find guilty? Marcus's hand found Sophia's. On the charge of breaking and entering, how do you find guilty? Vanessa sat motionless at the defense table, her face blank, her eyes empty. On the charge of elder abuse, how do you find guilty? Sophia closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face. It was over. Finally, mercifully over. The judge scheduled sentencing for the following month. Vanessa was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, her head bowed, her shoulders slumped. As she passed Marcus, she stopped. "Brother," she said softly. He met her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for everything." Then she was gone, disappearing through the door out of their lives into whatever future awaited her behind bars. Sophia stood in the hallway after the courtroom emptied her body, exhausted, her mind still reeling. Marcus appeared beside her. "Are you all right?" "I don't know." She looked at him. "Is it really over?" "The trial is over. The rest..." He paused. "The rest is just beginning." She understood what he meant. The healing, the rebuilding, the long process of putting their lives back together. What will happen to her? She'll go to prison. 5 to 10 years, probably. Marcus's voice was heavy. "After that, I don't know. Maybe she'll get help. Maybe she'll find some kind of peace." "Do you believe that?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I want to believe it. She's my sister. Despite everything I want to believe, there's something worth saving in her." There might be. Sophia touched his arm. Somewhere under all that rage and pain, there might be someone worth saving. But she has to want it. She has to choose it. I know. They walked out of the courthouse together into a world that felt somehow different than it had that morning. Lighter. Freer. Eleanor was waiting by the car, Linda beside her. "It's done," the old woman asked. "It's done." Eleanor closed her eyes, her face peaceful for the first time in months. "Then take me home," she said. "I want to see my garden." 6 months later, the Thornton mansion had been transformed. Not physically. The rooms still held the same furniture, the same artwork, the same echoes of generations past. But something essential had shifted. The shadows that had once lurked in corners were gone. The silence that had felt oppressive now felt peaceful. Sophia stood at the window of Eleanor's sitting room, watching the old woman walk slowly through her beloved garden, a cane in one hand, Linda hovering nearby. The hip had healed, the heart had strengthened, and the spirit that Vanessa had tried so hard to break was more resilient than ever. "She looks happy," Marcus's voice came from behind her. "She is happy." Sophia turned to face him. "Happier than I've ever seen her. Because of you. Because of herself." Sophia shook her head. "I just gave her someone to fight for. She did the rest." Marcus moved to stand beside her at the window. "The Foundation's charter was approved yesterday." "I heard." A smile tugged at Sophia's lips. "The Eleanor Thornton Foundation for Caregiver Rights. It has a nice ring to it." "It was your idea." "It was our idea." She corrected him. "And it was long overdue. Too many people like me have suffered in silence for too long. Maybe this will help change that." "It will." Marcus's voice was certain. "Because you're running it. Because you know what it's like. Because you won't let anyone fall through the cracks." Sophia looked at him, at the man who had wronged her and then fought to make it right. At the man who had lost so much and was trying to build something better from the wreckage. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what? For listening. Finally. For seeing the truth even when it was hard. For choosing to be better." Marcus was silent for a moment. "I should be thanking you. You saved my mother. You saved this family. You saved me from marrying a woman who would have destroyed us all." "I did what anyone would have done." "No." He shook his head firmly. "You did what almost no one would have done. You stood up when it would have been easier to walk away. You told the truth when lies would have been safer. You forgave me when I didn't deserve it." Sophia felt something warm bloom in her chest. "You deserved a chance," she said. "Everyone deserves a chance to do better. Even Vanessa." The question hung in the air between them. "Even Vanessa," Sophia said finally. "But she has to choose it, just like you chose it, just like Eleanor chose to fight instead of give up. We can offer people chances, but they have to be willing to take them." Marcus nodded slowly. "She wrote to me," he said, "from prison, asking if I would visit. Will you?" "I don't know." His voice was heavy with conflict. "She's my sister, my blood, but she's also the woman who tried to destroy everyone I love. How do I reconcile that?" "You don't have to," Sophia said gently. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some things can't be reconciled. They can only be accepted." "Is that what you've done? Accepted what happened?" Sophia thought about the question, about the months of fear and pain and doubt. About the moment Marcus had thrown her out without a second thought. About the nights she had spent in that motel room wondering if she would ever work again. "I've accepted that it happened," she said. "I've accepted that it changed me. But I haven't accepted that it defines me. My story doesn't end with being a victim. It ends with being a survivor." "A survivor and a leader." Marcus smiled. "The Foundation's first official event is next week. 200 people have already RSVP'd. They're coming to hear you speak." "They're coming because they believe in the cause." "They believe in you. There's a difference." Sophia didn't know how to respond to that. A year ago, she had been nobody. a black maid in a wealthy household, invisible to everyone who mattered. Now she was the face of a movement, a voice for the voiceless, a symbol of what courage could accomplish. It still didn't feel real. "Come on," Marcus touched her arm gently. "My mother wants to show you her new roses." They walked out together into the garden, where Eleanor was waiting with a smile on her weathered face. "Sophia, look." The old woman gestured to a bush covered in deep red blooms. "I planted them the day the verdict came in. I wanted something beautiful to mark the end of something ugly." Sophia knelt beside the roses, breathing in their sweet fragrance. "They're perfect. They're resilient." Eleanor's voice was soft. "Like you, like all of us. We were trampled, but we didn't die. We just grew back stronger." Sophia looked up at the woman who had become like a mother to her, at the man who had become like a brother, at the life she had built from the ashes of destruction. "I never expected any of this," she said quietly. "When I took this job, I just wanted to help someone who needed it. I never imagined that you would save a family." Eleanor touched her cheek gently. "That you would expose a monster, that you would become a beacon of hope for people who had lost theirs. Any of it, all of it." "That's the thing about truth, my dear." Eleanor's eyes sparkled. "It has a way of leading us places we never expected to go. We just have to be brave enough to follow it." Sophia stood and took Eleanor's hand. "I learned that from you." "You learned it from yourself." Eleanor squeezed her fingers. "I just reminded you what you already knew." Marcus cleared his throat. "There's one more thing I wanted to tell you both." They turned to look at him. "Vanessa's sentence was reduced. Good behavior therapy compliance. She'll be out in 3 years instead of 5. Sophia felt her chest tighten. And I've decided to visit her, to try to build some kind of relationship with my sister. Not forgiveness, not yet, just acknowledgement. That she exists, that she matters, that someone in this world sees her as more than a monster." Eleanor was quiet for a long moment. "Your father would be proud of you," she said finally. "Whatever his mistakes, he raised a man who chooses compassion over vengeance." "You raised that man," Marcus said. "Not him." Eleanor smiled sadly. "We all raised each other in the end. That's what families do." The sun was setting over Charleston, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. The three of them stood together in the garden, surrounded by roses and memories, and the quiet certainty that they had survived the worst and emerged stronger. Sophia thought about everything that had brought them to this moment, the cruelty and the kindness, the lies and the truth, the breaking and the healing. She thought about Vanessa sitting in a prison cell, facing the consequences of her choices. She thought about Marcus wrestling with the weight of blood and forgiveness. She thought about Eleanor blooming in the autumn of her life like the roses she loved so much. And she thought about herself, about the woman she had been when she first walked through the doors of the Thornton mansion, and the woman she had become. "What are you thinking about?" Eleanor asked. Sophia smiled. "I'm thinking that the truth doesn't just set you free. It shows you who you really are." Eleanor nodded slowly. "And who are you, Sophia Carter?" Sophia looked at the roses at the mansion, at the family she had found in the most unlikely of places. "I'm someone who chose courage over fear, someone who stood up when it would have been easier to stay down, someone who believed in the power of truth, even when everyone else believed the lies." She turned to face them both, her voice steady and sure. "I'm a survivor, and I'm just getting started." The evening light caught the silver hairpin in her pocket, the one Eleanor had given her so long ago. For luck, the old woman had said. But Sophia knew now that luck had nothing to do with it. It was truth that had saved them, truth and courage, and the unbreakable bond between people who refused to let darkness win. The Thornton mansion stood tall against the Charleston skyline, no longer a house of secrets and shadows, but a home rebuilt on the foundation of honesty and love. And in its garden, 3 people who had been broken by lies stood whole again, living proof that the truth once spoken can never be silenced. Because in the end, that is the only justice that truly matters. Not the verdict of a courtroom or the judgment of a jury, but the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you stood for what was right when it would have been easier to look away. That is the legacy Sophia Carter built. That is the truth she chose to live. And that truth would echo through generations, a testament to the power of one voice raised against injustice, one heart brave enough to beat when all others fell silent. The storm had passed, the truth had won, and nothing, not money, not power, not all the lies in the world, could ever take that away.